Welcome again. Please continue eating, but we need to get started with the program. We have so many wonderful things to celebrate and do today. And I want to thank you all for being here. We appreciate your partnership so much. It's a great day to celebrate business and industry in Caldwell County. We had a great year last year, and this year has started off good too. I'd like to recognize some of our partners that are with us today, and I'll ask these groups to stand when I call your name. County Commissioners Chairman Randy Church, Jeff Branch, and Manager Stan Kaiser. Will you stand, please? Senator Deanna Ballard. Representative Destin Hall. All the elected municipal leaders and managers, would you please stand? Caldwell County School Board members, Superintendent Dr. Steve Stone, and administrators, would you stand? Western Piedmont Council of Governments, Anthony Starr. And Sherry. There you are, Sherry. Caldwell Community College trustees, Dr. Mark Porch, and you Vice President Randy Ledford, if you'll stand. And last but certainly not least, the EDC Board of Directors, please stand. Again, to all the businesses and industries here today, thank you so much for being here and all that you mean to and for the county. Derek?
Well, thank you all for being here. Was the food good? Great. We do thank the college for the culinary program, and we're appreciative of this facility, Dr. Porch, all of you making it available to us for these types of events. The guest speaker today represents an organization that is probably the key, it's not probably, it is the key to Caldwell County's success since the recession. We have relied on the building reuse program in particular to help repurpose buildings. We've had buildings that stood vacant and were close to falling apart, and some that really should have had a bulldozer as opposed to a pocketbook, but all have been helped, and we've had tremendous success. We wanted to bring to you the folks who represent the building reuse program, and in November, Kenny Flowers was made the director of the Rural Economic Development Division, which is the organization that out of Commerce that manages the building reuse programs. And so it's fitting that he is our guest speaker today. A little bit about him. Before he was appointed to this position, he served as the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Community and Regional Development at East Carolina University. And he's not a stranger to rural development because, as we recognize, we've met before on a number of different occasions because he was involved and was executive director at the NC Rural Development Council for a number of years. He also worked at the North Carolina General Assembly as a fiscal analyst for the House and the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Education, and as a policy analyst for the city of Jacksonville, Florida. So for all of you who've done a building reuse grant and we struggle through all of the financial stuff, know that it is looked over very, very carefully by very talented and well-heeled people such as Mr. Kenny Flowers. We really appreciate you being here. We look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you for coming, and may I introduce to you Mr. Kenny Flowers.
Deborah, it is my pleasure to be here, first of all. It's always good to be out in rural North Carolina, but it's always good to see how those communities are being uplifted by the investments and partnerships that are going on there. Deborah mentioned that, our team is part of the celebration today, the folks that will be recognized for doing good work, and I have the great pleasure of saying that I had nothing to do with all the good stuff that they've done. I've been back on the job for 2.5 months, okay? But it was easy for me to see pretty quickly that we had special talent in our building, and a lot of the things you'll hear about our building reuse and rural infrastructure program through our rural grants program is something that I can see very clearly pretty quickly. I am returning. Deborah said, it's like I do this thing at places, I'll disappear, and then I'll kind of reappear. And Commerce is one of those places. I was director of the rural development programs there for a few years. And 2007, I left to go to ECU, but when I came back, walked in the buildings, I knew my way around pretty well. Looked in closets, and there were still some of the same boxes that I left before I went to ECU. It's amazing how state government moves, right? One of the reasons I came back was that understanding and that knowledge and that relationship with people that were working there. I know the strong staff that we have at Commerce. I know the commitment that we have to rural North Carolina. And I know the things that we want to do together to make a difference. So seeing that and knowing the people that were in place to help us make that happen made my decision really easy. See, I'm a rural North Carolina boy. I grew up in Anson County, in Wadesboro, and I don't know if we've been through there or heard about it, but I can tell you this, it's not urban. It may be metro in some ways, metro what, I don't know, but it's not urban, but it's a place that's near and dear to my heart. You can grow up and go out and pick your own cucumbers and have your dad tell you to put them all together so your mom can make cucumber pickles over the course of the weekend and have that done before he gets home. You say, okay, this might not be so fun. But when your mom comes to you and says, I don't feel like messing with all those cucumbers, take them and sell them to Bill Cable at his grocery store. Don't tell your dad that we did that. So we kept that secret from my mom forever. He passed away in 2005. I think we finally told him in 2004. So I can keep a secret, or if there's something you want to let me in on, please let me know. My background, as I said, was ECU before coming to Commerce, and as assistant vice chancellor there, certainly had an opportunity to build some wonderful partnerships across rural North Carolina. All across the East and in virtually every town, at some level we had a relationship because it's so important to me and to the university to, one, be engaged in service, and to build the kind of partnerships that last well beyond those projects that we're working on. So if we have projects that communities were working on, the research that our faculty members were working on, that's wonderful. But as we build our partnerships there, and as I push to make sure that we build our partnerships at Commerce the same way, we want to be around well after that project is over. And I think you can see from Deborah's comments and what you hear about our rural development program today, we tend to not go away. They've been engaged here forever. How many years, Deborah? Forever, exactly. Back in the Rural Center days even. And yes, we can admit that some of our programming was once sitting at the Rural Center. So it's good to be back. I'm glad to be a part of that team, and it really is our team. We'll build our focuses together based on the wonderful assets and people that we have. But it's important to me because I believe we have a commitment to the people of rural North Carolina to invest, to build, collaborate, and stay connected. Investment is always a part of that, right? You see that in our grant program. We invest in the rural communities to build prosperity, to build resources, to build capacity. But I think we have a higher level obligation to position ourselves alongside our rural communities and engage in ways that give guidance, add capacity, and put our rural towns and counties in the best position for success as it relates to economic development, education, families, building a solid foundation for economic prosperity. I believe strongly that the issues of rural community capacity is one of the greatest we face, one of the greatest challenges that's faced in rural North Carolina. If we can address it, I think we can position ourselves best for transformative change in some of our most rural and distressed counties. If we can address capacity issues as it relates to day-to-day administration, public service delivery in our small, limited resource and limited capacity communities, I think many of you know that's a genuine problem in some of our rural local governments, having the ability to do the day-to-day things that a lot of communities take for granted. If we can address capacity as it relates to economic development readiness, capacity as it relates to project development and implementation, we help local governments better serve their citizens and enhance their overall competitive profile as it relates to community and economic development, building stronger, more viable, and more attractive communities. It might just be me, but I don't really believe that a community that's not appealing to families can be appealing to business and industry. If a community can't deliver public services at a level that's responsive to your needs as a family, how on earth can we build the capacity to respond to the industry needs of a community? We have to do this together, and I don't think that there's any way we can do this without supporting longer range investments in our infrastructure and building capacity as it relates to our local governments and their day-to-day ability to handle administration and public services. I believe that we're obligated to engage our commerce staff, implement our programs, and build new products and services in a way that elevates our communities, helps to build and broaden capacity in our rural communities, and build an environment that fosters vitality and prosperity. I believe that we are obligated to build strong partnerships with other stakeholders, to align programs, align resources, and leverage talent in an effort to add value and maximize the impact in our rural and distressed communities. I believe that we are obligated to stand in the shadows of rural partners, the communities, the institutions, the families, their children, and truly understand the issues and assets and the opportunities that we all face together to gain true knowledge and understanding of the communities that we work with, invest in, live, and admire. If we, as a division, as a department, as a state of North Carolina, can continue to shape our program with that knowledge, then we will certainly deliver a program that is truly impactful and transformative. In the final analysis, it really is all about having positive impacts on people and helping to create transformative change in our communities. That is our vision for rural economic development. That is my hope as we collaborate and align in partnership moving forward. Impacting people, connecting with our rural leaders in our rural communities, creating an environment for transformation in those communities, and again, touching the lives of our families. It really makes me reflect on the words of Robert Hayden, who wrote in his writings in a tribute to Frederick Douglass, how important it was, the things that Frederick Douglass had done as a leader, as a visionary, how it impacted his communities, his society, and the impacts it had on people. And he wondered, what will it be that Frederick Douglass will truly be remembered for? What will it be that people will really think about when they think back on his legacy? And Hayden said this man, this Douglass, this former slave, who was beaten to his knees and exiled for visioning a land where none is lonely, none hunted alien. This man, superb in love and logic, this man shall be remembered. But not with statues rhetoric, not with legends and poems and wreaths of bronze alone, but with the lives grown out of his life, the lives that are fleshing with his dream of this beautiful and needful thing. Thank you so much. I say thank you, but I get to stay up here for a little while longer. Okay? I get the distinct honor of introducing the Industry of the Year Award for 2017. Okay? I found out about this yesterday. Thank you, Deborah. So I've been trying to familiarize myself with what sounds like a wonderful, wonderful investor in this community, business and industry partner, contributor to local foundations, and just a builder of relationships, families, and the community. I was so impressed by the things that you're doing for the employee and staff, and I'm talking about McCreary Modern as I speak. The positions that you put them in to make them feel invested and give them ownership in your company. So Michelle, Bob, Robert, and Michelle again, the leaders of the McCreary Modern group, I'd like to say that I'm excited to be here to give you this award. So just a bit about them. Since 1986, McCreary Modern has gained a well-deserved reputation for fostering an environment where employees are considered families and owners. With 1,000 employees in Newton, its headquarters and 2 facilities in Gamewell, a town that I told Mr. McCreary that I just heard of today. I thought I knew where all the small towns in North Carolina were. Additional 250 employees there. McCreary Modern is a private label manufacturer, and is a private label manufacturer, and is very proud that it has never once offshored jobs, and has a strong commitment to purchasing from domestic suppliers. In 2015, McCreary Modern won the Corporate Leadership Award from the Charlotte Business Journal. McCreary Modern is responsive to its employees' needs and has an in-house nurse practitioner, free wellness, and free mammogram screening as well. For its broad contributions to employees, its community, and Caldwell County and beyond, the Caldwell County EDC presents the 2017 Industry of the Year Award to McCreary Modern. Thank you. Come on, Bob.
Good afternoon. This is quite an honor. And let me assure you, when I was growing up in rural Caldwell County, back in the holler, about 5 miles from here, I never imagined that I would be doing something like this today. I've really lived a blessed life. My father was a furniture factory worker. We had a family of, there's 6 of us, four boys, my mom and dad. And I grew up knowing what work was. Also grew up knowing how during those years that employees perhaps were not valued that much. And that's something that I can remember my dad coming home tired and sometimes upset with work. And a lot of it is just how you treat the people. When we started 32 years ago, I wanted a family culture. We were a family business, and I wanted that kind of culture within our companies. So that's something that we've done since day one. We treat our people with dignity, we take care of them, and what we get in return is greater than what we give, quite honestly. So it's, and that's one of the keys to our success over the years. And we are, I think, as it said in the pamphlet there, we're a low-profile company because we don't nationally advertise. Our customer is our brand, and that has served very well for us. And it's great to be in Caldwell County. I mean, we have 4 factories in Catawba County, but this is special. Caldwell County is very special to me. This is where I grew up. This is where I used to walk 5 miles on a Saturday morning to go to the Center Theater or the Avon Theater, my brother and I. So it's my roots. Our factories right now, my grandparents lived a quarter of a mile out Rocky Road from where these factories are. And that was a very special place. I used to, ride my bike out to my grandma and grandpa's, and would ride by that area at that time, and never knowing that someday I could perhaps have ownership of something like that. So it's been, Caldwell County is, I like giving back, but nowhere do I enjoy giving back more than I do to Caldwell County because of what it's meant for me. In 2000, I purchased Morgan & Chair. It was more, though, than purchasing a factory. I purchased a person, Rick Coffey, who's absolutely the best manufacturing guy in the industry. And he has been really an architect behind our growth over the last 18 years. So I thank Rick for what he's been able to do. And then I had the great pleasure of 4.5 years ago, my son, Robert, saying that he would be interested in coming back to join the company. I never thought that would happen. I gave him the opportunity 30 years ago, but he said, no, I'm going to New York and have a hedge fund, and that's where I'm going. I'm going to make my fortune there. He did that. He did it very well, but it's been a blessing since he's come back here, because now this company can maintain the growth as a family business. And so I am very fortunate to have Robert back here. Giving back to the community, that's something that I believe in deeply. I believe in giving back to institutions and communities that are deserving of need, and giving back where you can see immediate results in what you give. And of note, there's a couple things in Caldwell County that I'm particularly proud of. The rec center in Hudson. When I was in school there in the 50s, we're going to have a rec center next year. It only took 50 years, but they have one now. They have a very nice one now, and I'm very proud of that. Our participation in hospice. I know how my 106-year-old grandmother was treated by hospice. Great investment. The dedication there by the people is amazing. Give back to people like that. The Cancer Center. It's really amazing when I get letters or communications from people that have had experiences there, patients, of what they experience. And when you get that kind of feedback, the benefit from that is far greater than the gift that I gave. I mean, it's really, you go to bed at night feeling good about yourself when you get that kind of communication. So it's a pleasure to be back in Caldwell County. I'm very happy to have, these facilities here. We are growing. We're hiring people. And we were speaking earlier about the rehabbing old buildings. We took the old Kincaid factory that had been vacant for years. And today, it's one of the few remaining woodworking facilities in the state. And we're growing there and cutting and sawing wood again, right, Rick? Yeah, so it's a great feeling. This is quite an honor. I thank you very much, and let me assure you, McCreary Modern will continue caring for this community in caring for the valued employees that we have, because without them, we're nothing. So, and thank you so much for your time and the honor. Certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
And let me say, Hazel and Melody and Kenny, our very first building reuse grant, McCreary Modern, 2006. I'd like to introduce to you the next presenter, Mr. Marty Waters. He is president and CEO of Marlin Chemical Company. He is vice chair of the Caldwell EDC, and he's chairman of the Western Piedmont Council of Governments Workforce Development Board. Marty.
Thank you, Deborah. First of all, I'd like to congratulate McCreary Modern. It's a very deserving award. I know Caldwell County certainly appreciates you and all the employees and how you value the employees, and I think it sets an example for all of us. I think the manner in which you have achieved those accomplishments is another thing it's a great accomplishment. I'm quite honored today to present the 2017 Herman Anderson Award. I have many special thoughts about it, especially for the lady who is receiving this award today. I think, as you know, through the program, that Miss Elaine Lockhart is this year's recipient. Elaine has an education career spanning more than 4 decades. Although she retired from CC&TI at the end of 2017, her legacy from the work continues to push Caldwell County's prospects forward. The past 13 years, Elaine has served as CC&TI Vice President for Continuing Education and Workforce Development. Her focus was on programs to retrain workers impacted by the offshoring and the Great Recession. Her initiatives included the IT Institute, the Electrical Linesman Program, and the expansion of the truck driving training program. Ms. Lockhart and her staff came together with state and local officials to create NC Works Career Planning and Placement Center, and she has served as one of the catalysts in the development of the Caldwell is Hiring events. Prior to her recent retirement, Elaine was awarded the Order of the Longleaf Pine, and it's an honor bestowed by Governor Roy Cooper and presented to those individuals who've made an extraordinary contribution to our state. After completing her bachelor's and master's degree at Appalachian State University, Elaine began her 24-year career at CC&TI in 1976. She served as Health and Home Economics Coordinator, Continuing Education Coordinator, Occupational Extension and Food Service Management Program Director, Occupational Extension Director, Dean of Corporate and Continuing Education, and lastly, Vice President of Continuing Ed and Workforce Development. And that position entailed the overall operations supervision of the Corporate and Continuing Education Department, the J.E. Broyhill Civic Center, and the Workforce Development Initiatives. To say this lady has held many positions is an understatement, and she's always done it very professional and tireless. Elaine has served as a member of the NC Economic and Workforce Development Leadership Committee, the Caldwell County Schools Leadership Council, the Lenoir Rotary Club, the Caldwell and Watauga County Economic Development Commissions, and the Caldwell Chamber of Commerce. It has been my great pleasure to serve on several of these boards with Elaine throughout the past years. And I'm going to turn it to a little bit of a personal note with me. My first recollection of Miss Elaine Lockhart, I had no idea who she was. I had no idea what position that she served at the time at the college, but she certainly was comforting to me at the time. And I was, it was in the early 80s. I was a recent high school graduate with not really a clear vision of what I wanted to do or a clear pathway. And this, of course, was to the dismay of my parents. And it was kind of compounded by the fact that my sister had just graduated the nursing program down here and at CC&TI, and she had a job and had her ducks in the row, as my dad said, while his son was not really very focused on something. So I decided to visit CC&TI and possibly take a few classes. I was intimidated by my indecisiveness and my lack of direction at the time, and I was soon met by an employee of the college that appeared well-kept, confident, professional, and very willing to assist me. She directed me very efficiently to all the areas I needed to go, and she gave me information as to which other individuals could be helpful to me. Then she proceeded to find her next lost sheep, which she continued to do to the very end. I'm sure she's still doing it in some manner, but she impacted my life that day by caring enough to offer her hands-on approach and assistance, and she assured me if I needed anything further, I could contact her again. And I suddenly felt I was exactly where I needed to be that day, and that I could get the start that I needed, due in part to her caring and confident attitude in me as a person. And while she has all I think the experience